Happy Halloween. It's time to tune like Swayze.
So I hope that wasn't too much, guys. It was just a spur of the moment idea, but it is physically October 31st. As I'm recording this right now, it's like 1 a.m. and I'm out in the garage because I wanted to put something together kind of unique, and I'm like, you know, what can I do for a Halloween special, so to speak? And so I thought, you know, what better to do than Ghost like Swayze. So that's basically where the idea came from, a ghost cam tune. If you know what a ghost cam is, then it's going to be real simple. From here, you're going to jump down to this time and you're going to see how I achieve the ghost cam tuning on a Corvette Z06, LS1, LSX, anything will apply. But if you are just like, I don't know even what you're talking about. So, you know, there's a saying back in the day, a friend of mine used to say, like, everybody would say, man, we're about to be ghost like Swayze. So, you know, the ghost cam gets a bad rep online, but I figured, you know, what about the Swayze tune? I mean, everybody likes Patrick Swayze. So that's the idea behind it. So let me give you a little preface here, just so anybody who's not been with me before understands. So I have a 2002 Corvette Z06, used to be supercharged, obviously isn't anymore. I yanked that off of there, wanted to go back NA. So basically intake, American Racing headers, X-pipe no cats to a modified titanium exhaust in a video that I did right here. I'm actually going to do a super mod too. So if you guys are familiar with that video, I had Akrapovic tips, did a custom titanium TIG welded bypass. Well, I'm going to do another one. But basically in this one, I tell you this so that you understand the sound that you're about to hear. In this video, I'm going to give you sound comparisons before the tune and after. And I'm going to do it cold and I'm going to do it warm. So basically, I'm going to break everything down for you guys. If you're confused, you're about to learn. So we're going to do this just like class. Are you ready? Here we go. Alrighty, so what are you going to need to tune like Swayze? Well, you're going to need a fantastic hairdo. That's what he always started with. But besides that, just some basic tools. So we're going to obviously need ourselves a laptop. We're going to need a very special module. And you may not have it. It's a OBD2 plug-in. Kind of looks like a wrench. No, I'm kidding. You ain't going to need that. I'll tell you guys what that is one day. I can't tell you right. But what you're going to need is this right here. You're going to need some HpTuners, and this is the older module. They have a newer module out, but you're going to need this to access the tuning features, obviously, in the OEM ECU, and you're going to need some credits. So on HpTuner, in this particular case, this car takes 2 credits. Credits are $50 a piece. Typically, when you buy an HpTuner tuning module, it comes with, I think, 8 credits on it, stock. I bought mine used. It actually had 8 on it, but you can typically find them sometimes with a few credits gone. But as long as you have 2 credits, you're good to go. So, lesson 2, what is a Swayze tune? Well, basically, what it's doing is through the tuning interface, through manipulating timing, you're kind of making the engine sound like it has a larger cam, a cam with more duration, a cam with a more aggressive overlap. So basically, you're simulating the sound, and so this is where things get very controversial. So let's talk about the haters. So you're always going to have haters with most any mods. Some mods people universally agree with. Some are much more controversial. So obviously Lambo doors on a Corvette, that will get the people talking. Chrome letters back on the back bumper. There's certain things that get one side of the crowd heated up. On the other side, you have people that don't like when something is not legitimate. If it's anything, and that could be large wings, you'll see people get upset about wings. You'll see people get upset about airbags, maybe on a sports car, things like that. So in this case, what makes people mad about this mod is basically you are implying and you're simulating that you have a large cam, a performance mod done to your car that isn't legitimate. Your car is not making the power that would come with a larger cam, or the engine work that you're kind of trying to convince people that exists on the car, and that's debatable, because I will say that while I agree with some of that perspective, there's the other perspective that some people like to just have the sound. And so I sometimes ask people, well, why do a louder exhaust? Why do things that basically, yes, there's performance and that's the byproduct of it, but people do it obviously for the audible side of it. Some people want to experience something that gets them excited about the car. And so, there is that idea that lopey cam idle is something that people find audibly attractive. So yes, you are kind of perpetrating, so to speak, but it is a mod that I don't know that, well, I'm going to save my opinion for the end. How about that? I'm just giving you both sides of it. So for the few of you that make it to the end of this video, I'm going to give you my total breakdown, and I'm going to tell you whether or not I'm going to keep this tune on my car. So we'll see. But that kind of outlines why people are kind of upset about the ghost cam, or the Swayze tune as I call it. Number 4, lesson 4, very important. Lots of people want to know, will Swayze hurt my engine? Well, I can tell you that the way that you tune the Swayze tune on the LS motors, no. It's not putting your motor at risk. You're not doing anything that is going to put anything inherently in danger. Now, what could happen is you could end up with some drivability issues. So the 2002 Z06, like I have, this is a Gen 3 platform, essentially. With the ECU, it's going to be considered Gen 3. You're going to have Gen 3 tuning tables. In the Gen 3s, the tables that we're going to be modifying are very basic in the sense that you may have to own the drivability issues a little bit more. Now, on the Gen 4 platform, which would be like a C6, things like that, there are a little bit more options. You can do the tune only in park and neutral. You can do the tune in basically not in drive. So you can have something that sounds good while you're parked and started up and idling, but once you put it into drive, it will basically go to 100% stock. There will all the idle, so at red lights and things you won't have that. That will eliminate drivability issues with this, but give you the sound in the parking lot. And again, you can see why people hate on this. So basically with other engines like the Gen 5s, and where you have a little bit of control over the cam, or cars that have, say the Ford platforms where they have multicam 4-cam V8 cam phasing, you would do this tune a little bit different. But in the LSs, it's pretty straightforward. It's not difficult at all. Anybody can do it. And so if you do have an HpTuner interface, some people have them not to so much tune for themselves, but to basically log the data off of the ECU, send it to someone, have someone interpret it, change their tune, send it back to them, and then they upload the tune. So a lot of people will have that module, and there is a case for you to have that module if you don't have one. But in this sense, this is something literally everyone can do. So we're going to jump in the laptop. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this on the Gen 3. And then I will later show you the difference on a Gen 4 from Lace's C6, which she does not have this tune, but I can obviously pull up her ECU and so you can see that. So basically, I'm going to give you some audio. I'm going to give you a cold start with the way that my tune is now, which is the OEM cam. We're going to do the tune, then I'm going to give you some audio of the cold start with it, and we're going to do warm with and without as well. So stick around. We're going to jump into the tuning now, so let's jump into the laptop, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. All right, folks, so the first thing we are going to do is obviously we have HpTuners pulled up. I'm going to put the key in the on position here, and what we are going to do is we are going to hit read vehicle here, and this is going to pull basically the factory tune in, and we are going to save that file to keep it safe. So we're going to hit read here. So you're going to want to make sure that you have very good power on your laptop. Never want to be down at the lower limits. If you have any doubts about your laptop, have it plugged in. But it could take, as you can see here, about 2 minutes. Some ECUs will take longer. So In these cases, anytime you are downloading or flashing in either direction, if you lose power from your laptop, very detrimental. So, and so you may hear the car cycle, obviously. Now what it's going to do is bring up this window, and we are definitely going to want to save Z06, and I'm going to put October 2020 just to be sure. We'll add some words there. Now I'm going to do that, and I'm going to immediately go up to File, Save As, and I'm going to add a different name to it. And the reason I'm going to do this is if I were to accidentally overwrite it, I have fully protected that that downloaded tune. So now I have this particular file saved, and you can see at the top of the screen here now it shows 1. So we can make changes, we can accidentally hit some things, and there's not going to be anything detrimental that's going to happen. We're always going to have that base tune to go back to. So obviously it just came up here. You're going to go to this engine tab. If you can't see all of these, if you go down to view, you can see there's basic and advanced. You're going to want to be in advanced, typically speaking, just so you can have everything available that you need to see. But so basically the only two tables we're going to be working with here is overspeed and underspeed. And so essentially what this does is the way that these motors manage their idle is to essentially kind of increase or decrease torque. You would have idle air controls and things like that, and bypass air modules basically on older like OBD1 and things like that. But with the electronic throttle body on these cars, it manages the idle speed for the most part, and the way that it kind of targets it is just by having this overspeed and underspeed. And what it's doing is, in this sense, as the speed goes up over the target, you can see that it will retard the timing and essentially reduce torque. And so that will bring the idle speed down. In the opposite sense, the underspeed. So now what you will have to catch on the Gen 3s is it's an opposite layout. It's not like that on the Gen 4s, but on the Gen 3s it is. So here, as it laces home, scraping her car driveway, it's just that little lip on the bottom. But so here, as it goes to negative 12.5 RPM, 25, 37, 50 RPM, as it goes down, it's going to increase timing to increase torque and speed up. So all we are really going to do here is that we are going to kind of exaggerate both of these tables, and that's where we're going to start. So let me jump back to overspeed, and we're going to basically just highlight this table by clicking the corner. We're going to hit 2 and multiply, and that's going to make everything times 2. So you can see that scales that up a little bit. Then this particular one, I'm going to make -2. This one, I'm going to make -4. This one, I'm going to make -8. And that's where we're going to be on the overspeed. As you can see, we will get back to that. So same deal here. I'm going to hit the corner. I'm going to go times 2. As you can see, everything then doubled. And here, and you could do this a couple different ways. I kind of double click and highlight. We'll go 2, 4, 8. And as you can see, since we've modified these two tables, they're now in red, and that kind of reminds you to go back to that. This is very basic stuff, guys. I'm not going to do any kind of big tutorial on how to tune. It's a very complex software. There's a lot to understand with all these LS platforms, and they do vary. So there's a lot to learn here. If you have any interest, believe me, there's other outlets to do that, and I've gone through a lot of them. So it is a pretty steep learning curve overall, but this is very basic, and if you follow this, you'll be fine. So at that point, we have all the changes that we're going to want to do, and so we're going to basically flash everything back into the ECU, start the car up, and we'll hear the difference. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and click Save. Now that's locked in to my stock tune, and I'm going to hit Write Vehicle. And you can see you have a few things here. We're just going to put right calibration and hit right. Alrighty, so now we're going to cycle the key, give her a start. Let's see if it sounds any different. Alrighty guys, so basically I had to roll over to day 2. So let me show you a little bit of data, and that's not as aggressive as some people are probably looking for, but it's a good basing, good baseline, so to speak, good starting point. So let me show you the scanning feature with HpTuner. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, and you're going to see in the timing section here the spark readout that basically that chop is coming directly from that spark timing jumping around, and you're getting some RPM variations. It looks like we were getting about 70 RPM probably of a variation. I did start to immediately see a little impact in the short-term fuel trims of it getting a little rich and trying to pull a little fuel, so that's interesting. Basically, we're going to get more aggressive here, and so I'm going to jump back in and basically going to expand on what I started as a baseline. But I am going to tell you there's a little bit of caution I'm going to use on the underspeed tables. I've seen some people do something different here. I don't like it, and so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and we're going to see what the outcome is to try and keep things safe. And so then I will bring up some new data, and we will do a comparison of sound from stock to this stage 1 level to the next step. So guys, if you enjoy this kind of series to where we kind of take a laptop and make a car sound a little bit different, a little bit of character, you should know I'm going to do a pops and bangs. And just see what I can get out of this with the titanium exhaust. I am curious about it. Again, not sure I'll keep it on there, but why not do it? So let's jump back in the car, guys, and throw me a comment if this is helpful, if you like this format, and I appreciate it, and let's get back to the car. Okay, since we did save before, now you can see that these overspeed and underspeed are back to normal colors, so it's indicating we have not made any changes here. So what we're going to do here is overspeed is where we're going to kind of focus more, and overspeed is, in my opinion, you're going to get a little more unburnt fuel with underspeed, or with overspeed rather, because you're reducing timing, you're reducing the burn efficiency. So this is where you're going to get a little bit more fuel smell, and that's why you would, with cats on the car, catalytic converters, this would be probably a much riskier kind of proposition. But I think you can be more aggressive with the overspeed than you can the underspeed. So the overspeed is just reducing torque. And so what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to highlight this, and I'm going to go ×2 on it. And like I said, we're probably going to get potentially up to this region here. So I'm going to highlight, and I'm going to go, let's see, we're going to make that 0.75. Okay, so we'll kind of level that out. I don't want to go too aggressive there on the negative timing, but so we've got a little bit more aggressive here. I think I'm going to go to, let's go to -6 here. And we're going to go -10. So that's going to kind of be where we're going to try here next. This is going to be much more aggressive now to cut back, basically. So now on the underspeed, like I said, I don't want to get overly aggressive because you have to consider that when you're adding in spark timing, you know, and this is before top dead center, it's lighting that spark. So the piston is still upward, moving upward in the bore. And so as you really start to get super aggressive on adding timing in, you're doing a lot of negative work. And so granted, this is at idle, very low cylinder pressures, very low volumetric efficiency on the motor at idle. I don't think you probably will get in any trouble at 30 degrees even. But, you know, inevitably you are putting negative work into the motor, more pressure into the cylinder. So, again, it's probably no effect whatsoever because of the low speed and low volumetric efficiency of the engine. But that being said, I'm not going to get too aggressive with this. So, I'm going to basically go 1.25. And that's going to be that. So 1.25 multiplied, obviously it's going to add basically 25% more to what I have. And so that's where we're going to go. And essentially here, I really think it's this 50 and under range as to where, you know, you might see a more aggressive desire to be a little bit more, you know. So I think it's this area here, probably in this 50 and under range. How about we just give this a shot and we make this, if I can highlight properly, let's make this 20. No, I don't want to quite go. Let's make this 15. So let's make that 5. How about that? And the idea is you do want it to swing. You don't want it to counteract too much. So let's see what that does. So I'm going to put the key in the on position there. I'm going to flash this tune in. Go ahead and hit save. I did want to point out before, so right entire, you generally don't want to use right entire unless you're getting into VATS modifications, maybe doing a speed density tune, things like that. Right calibration is always going to be faster, and for most changes, that's what you're going to use. Alrighty, and so it goes through its cleanup, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to cycle the key, it's just what I do. I can't tell you if it's necessary or not. That's just what I've always done. So let's see here. I'm going to connect to the vehicle. All right, so what we're going to be looking at here is this, basically this spark here in this RPM. I don't really have a table specifically set up for this, but let's go ahead and start her up and see what happens. All right, so as you can see, much more aggressive there, much more choppy. And look at the data here. I can show you in the data, you can see the spark was much more aggressive there, and we were getting a lot more variation in RPM. Car was doing a good bit of shaking, felt very much like a large cam car, smelled a little bit like a large cam car because you're getting more unburnt fuel was going through the cylinder. And that will build up to a few little pops and bangs if you rev it. But essentially, you are putting a lot of unburnt fuel through the vehicle, through the engine, through the exhaust system. So I don't think that end example that I showed you is where you want to be. I would dial it back probably 20% from where I ended up. I personally think that probably the most aggressive I would go if I were to leave that on there just for a little bit of character would be the first example here. Just a slight amount of chop, not really much impact on the fueling or the smell being around the car. But in conclusion, folks, and I will put my conclusion here, would I do this to my car? Is this something that I think is viable as like a modification? I just don't like the fact that, you know, clearly the hydrocarbons, NOx, all that stuff, the emissions, you know, already having no cats and things is one thing, but sitting at a red light, windows down, I have always tried my hardest. When the 85 first came out, at least available in my area in 2006, I immediately tuned on it because I had a big injector turboed car at the time. And I loved the fact that the idle was clean and that it wasn't overwhelming me with stink. You know what I mean? I like things to be as close to livable, civil as possible while being aggressive. So really for me, with big cam cars, the idea is to tune them as subtle as possible. And I've driven some cars with hugely aggressive cams. The car that we had on the Speed channel in 2010 had an LS7 in it, a monster of a cam. It was very hard to drive at anything below probably 10 miles per hour. So that's really not the character of the car I kind of like to have as a vehicle I need to enjoy, because the more aggressive you make things, the more uncivil you make things, the less you tend to want to drive them, in my experience and the experience of customers I've had years back when I had my shop. So like I said, I think in this example, target that first level that I went to, maybe just a little bit more aggressive than that if you really want to do it. But any more than that, I think you could be looking at a little bit of detriment, maybe putting a little bit too much fuel in your oil, wetting down the cylinder a little bit. I do think that you could inevitably find some negative impact by doing this kind of tuning approach. So guys, I hope you learned something on this video. I hope it helped you make a decision. If you want to do it, it's up to you. But like I said, I think what I showed you here is maybe just go subtle with it. So as I said, I'm going to do another video on the pops and bangs. We're going to see what we can get out of this. I'm a little more excited about pops and bangs, but again, I'll give you my opinion when that video happens, guys. I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much for your support of Knight Drive TV. We've got a lot coming with TIG welding, fabrication. The Pathfinder's about done. I've been just doing so many things. The bezels, guys, I'm working hard. Thanks for your support. I'll see you on the next one.